Now you, They heard me say it. I said that. If I was on there, I said that.
Turn around, please. You did not.
Shakina, you stopped them and I said the same. You asked me, do you think I'm happier that you asked me the question and I answered it? So why would you sit there and say that?
Because I am happy.
But why would you sit there and say that I ain't say that?
Because you did.
I think she's happy. Yes, I did.
It wasn't loud and clear.
Tell me.
Yeah?
Tell me what's going on out there. What's going on?
Atlanta exploded overnight with a scandal that felt like something ripped straight from a Hollywood thriller. But this was not a movie. It was real life, raw, chaotic, and painful. Clifford T.I. Harris, long celebrated as the self-proclaimed King of the South, suddenly found himself caught in an inferno that threatened to destroy everything he had built. It started when leaked files, medical reports, private messages, and even grainy audio clips flooded social media like gasoline on a burning fire. The shocking claim? Shakina Anderson was allegedly pregnant, and the rumored father was not some unknown man, but T.I. himself. The internet went into a full meltdown. Hashtags like, "Whoa, Shakina pregnant," DNA for Tiny, and how justice for Tiny dominated Twitter and TikTok. For fans who had supported Tiny through years of whispers and speculation, this was not just another headline. It was pure betrayal, and the world demanded answers. The first gut punch came when Tiny herself finally stepped forward. Tears streamed down her face, her voice trembling but filled with anger and heartbreak. Standing before flashing cameras, she declared, "I want a DNA test. I deserve the truth. My family deserves the truth." That one statement changed everything. In a single moment, the story shifted from internet rumor to undeniable reality. This was no longer gossip or fan-made theories. It was a wife demanding proof. The footage of Tiny breaking down, her hands clutching tissues as she tried to steady herself, spread like wildfire online. For millions of women watching, she became more than just a celebrity. She became a symbol of every woman who had ever been deceived by the man she trusted most.
Control. You said that.
Let me ask
you.
Somebody who know me for real, right? Who really know me?
Man, I'm gonna tell you what you want to hear.
I think you have.
Do you think I'm like from
what she got?
I think she happy. I think she happy.
The video ain't really the issue. The video being posted up on social media is the issue. If someone would have sent her that video privately, she and I would have had one conversation about it, and it would have been over.
Tiny was no longer just a reality star or a singer. In that moment, she became the voice of every betrayed wife, every broken promise, and every home torn apart. The internet could not look away. It was not that people wanted to enjoy her pain. It was that the raw emotion of it all was impossible to ignore. Then came the proof that shattered any chance of dismissing this as gossip. Shakina's alleged medical report surfaced online, and the detail inside was devastating. The estimated date of conception matched the week T.I. stayed at a hotel in Atlanta. One line confirmed what the whispers had already been hinting at, and the entire industry froze. This was not hearsay anymore. This was evidence. Journalists gasped, influencers jumped to post reactions, and fans mourned like they were witnessing the fall of a dynasty. Unable to cope, Tiny reportedly fainted during a family confrontation, while T.I. vanished from Instagram. No posts, no stories, just silence. And that silence spoke louder than any denial could. The world took it as confirmation. Just when it seemed things could not possibly get worse, a whistleblower released alleged screenshots of Shakina chatting with a friend, confessing that if the DNA test went public, T.I. would lose everything. His wife, his career, his empire. That leak set off an explosion online. Fans debated endlessly. Some called Shakina a manipulator who destroyed a family, while others saw her as a woman caught in a dangerous web. But one thing was undeniable. The Harris empire was collapsing in real time, and nothing could stop it. The scandal's climax came when the courtroom became the stage for one of hip-hop's most public betrayals. Paparazzi swarmed the courthouse, protesters demanded justice for Tiny, and fans gathered outside as if waiting for a heavyweight title match. Inside, tension filled the air. Tiny sat beside her lawyers, gripping tissues, her face pale but her eyes fierce. Shakina entered next, heavily guarded, looking torn between guilt and defiance. Finally, T.I. walked in. Once the unshakable king of the South, now a hollow-eyed man cornered by his own actions. When the judge read the case title, Tiny versus Clifford Harris and Shakina Anderson, DNA and Betrayal, the whispers were loud enough to shake the walls. This was not family drama anymore. It was history in the making. The courtroom turned into chaos once the evidence dropped. Reporters scribbled furiously. cameras snapped without pause, and everyone leaned forward like they were watching the final act of a tragic film. Then the audio clip played, changing everything. The grainy recording, allegedly T.I.'s voice, whispered words that made the gallery gasp. "Don't worry, Shakina. If this comes out, I'll handle Tiny. Just trust me." The room fell dead silent. Tiny trembled, her body shaking as she stood. Her voice broke with pain as she cried out, "You destroyed me! You destroyed our family!" Seconds later, she collapsed into her daughter's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. The cameras caught every second, freezing the image of a queen brought to her knees by the man she built an empire with. Outside, Atlanta erupted like never before. Protesters screamed, "Justice for Tiny!" And DNA doesn't lie. While others turned their anger towards Shakina, chanting, "Snake!" Police struggled to control the chaos as emotions boiled over. News anchors called it the greatest betrayal in hip-hop history. TikTok flooded with tearful reactions. Memes mocked T.I. as a fraud, and others painted Tiny as a phoenix rising from the ashes. Shakina became the lightning rod, some calling her a mastermind, others a pawn in a game gone too far. But the real explosion came when the DNA results were revealed. The courtroom clerk, his hands trembling, opened the envelope and read aloud, "Clifford Harris, known as T.I., is the biological father of Shakina Anderson's child, with 99.9% certainty." The room erupted in chaos. Tiny screamed, collapsing to the floor. "Why, Clifford? Why would you do this to me? To us?" she cried, her daughter by her side. Shakina broke down too, shouting through tears, "I never wanted this. He promised me everything." The courtroom dissolved into madness. Tiny hurled a water bottle towards Shakina, shouting, "You ruined my life, my children's home!" Do not act like the victim. The judge slammed the gavel in vain as fans screamed and reporters scrambled for their headlines. Within minutes, the story hit Twitter and trended worldwide. Just DNA bombshell. Tiny broken and just cancel T.I. dominated the feeds. Within hours, major networks aired non-stop coverage. Late-night hosts turned the scandal into monologues, and hip-hop insiders called it the most humiliating downfall of a rap legend. To make matters worse, a leaked clip surfaced days later, showing T.I. laughing with friends before the trial, bragging, "Tiny ain't going nowhere. She can cry, she can sue, but she'll always need me." Those words turned public outrage into fury, sealing the story as one of the darkest betrayals the hip-hop world had ever seen. Shakina, man, she's just another piece of the puzzle. The internet exploded again, calling him a narcissist, a manipulator, a king who mocked the very queen he betrayed. Ty's empire started bleeding out overnight. His label issued a cold statement. "We are reviewing our relationship with Clifford Harris following recent revelations. Sponsorships disappeared, major deals were canceled, and former friends distanced themselves." Meanwhile, Tiny became the tragic heroine of the entire saga. Her public statement broke hearts worldwide. "I never thought Tiny stood before the cameras, her voice steady, but her eyes heavy with pain. I never thought I'd see the day my family's name would be dragged through this. But I will rise, I will fight, and I will make sure my children know the truth about the man who broke our home." Her courage earned sympathy and loyalty, turning her into the face of strength after betrayal. Fans gathered outside her home, holding signs that called her a queen rising from the ashes. Shakina's world, however, fell apart even harder. Death threats filled her inbox. Protesters gathered outside her house, and every move she made online was flooded with hate. In a tearful Instagram live, she broke down crying, "I didn't destroy the family. He did. He told me he loved me. He told me he'd leave Tiny, and now I'm the one paying the price. I can't even walk outside without being called a monster." But her tears did little to change public opinion. To most people, she was the other woman, the homewrecker who brought down the Harris empire. Whether she was truly a victim or a willing accomplice no longer mattered. The world had made up its mind. Then came the final blow, the divorce filing. Tiny officially moved forward to end her marriage, demanding full custody of her children, half of T.I.'s empire, and damages for emotional trauma. The leaked documents described his actions as repeated betrayal, public humiliation, and irreparable emotional damage. Paparazzi captured her leaving the courthouse in sunglasses, her eyes swollen, her children by her side. That image hit every major front page. Tiny ends it all. DNA bombshell destroys Harris family. By nightfall, the Harris empire was rubble. T.I. sat alone in his mansion, drowning in silence and threats, while Tiny was lifted up as the queen who survived the storm. But the scandal did not end there. It kept unraveling like a nightmare with no finish line. Rumors spread that T.I. had lost over $30 million in contracts. Whispers claimed Tiny was preparing a tell-all memoir to expose years of hidden betrayals. Others said Shakina was planning to leave Atlanta for good. A dynasty once built on music, fame, and family had collapsed into broken dreams and bitterness. The world watched it all unfold like the most shocking reality show ever aired. When the dust finally began to settle, one thing became clear. This wasn't just another celebrity scandal. It was a full-blown implosion of a legacy. T.I., once a respected king of the South, now sat isolated in his mansion, stripped of loyalty and power. The same streets that once praised his hustle now whispered about his downfall. Friends stopped calling, business partners pulled away, and even longtime allies distanced themselves. The empire he had spent decades building was now nothing more than a hollow shell of betrayal and shame. Meanwhile, Tiny's story evolved into one of resilience. She was no longer just a rapper's wife. She became a symbol of survival after heartbreak, the tragic queen the world rallied behind. Everywhere she went, cameras followed, but this time the attention came with respect. Fans cried for her, held up signs calling her a warrior, and treated her like royalty. Her pain turned into power, and people were ready to watch her rise again. Shakina, on the other hand, faced the opposite. Alone and despised, she became one of the most hated women in hip-hop. Protesters gathered outside her home, chanting that she had destroyed a family. Online, her DMs overflowed with threats and insults, making it nearly impossible for her to step outside. She went live again in tears, crying, "He told me he loved me. He told me he'd leave Tiny. And now I'm the one taking all the hate." But the public wasn't buying it. To them, she wasn't a victim. She was the spark that burned down the house. Fair or not, her reputation was scarred for life. Insiders whispered she was planning to flee Atlanta, maybe even change her name to escape the chaos. In one emotional moment, she admitted, "I can't walk down the street without someone spitting at me or calling me a monster." And with that, her story faded from the spotlight, leaving behind only wreckage. Tiny, however, moved with precision. The divorce was only the beginning. Along with custody and her share of the empire, she prepared to release a tell-all memoir that would shake the industry again. Rumors spread that the book would reveal not just T.I.'s betrayal with Shakina, but years of secrets, lies, and infidelities. Fans buzzed with anticipation, eager to hear her truth. Talk shows, podcasts, and magazines lined up to feature her, and every word she spoke became a headline. She transformed from a broken wife into a woman reclaiming her power. The more T.I. stayed silent, the louder her story became. And it worked. Tiny's narrative overshadowed his, painting her as the survivor while he remained trapped under his own mistakes. T.I. faced one of the steepest downfalls in hip-hop history. Reports said he lost $30 million in contracts, endorsements, and deals. His label turned cold, sponsorships disappeared, and streaming numbers plummeted as fans withdrew their support. Online, he was branded a narcissist, a man who destroyed his home and career through arrogance and deceit. The leaked clip of him bragging that Tiny would never leave resurfaced again and again, played on loop as proof of his downfall. Every time he tried to hide, another leak or rumor dragged him back into the fire. His silence, once seen as strength, now looked like guilt. Alone in his mansion, surrounded by empty halls and threats, T.I. became a ghost of the king he once was. But what made this saga so haunting was that it went beyond personal scandal. It became a cultural moment. Talk shows debated whether this was the greatest betrayal in hip-hop history. Fans argued online about whether Tiny should forgive or walk away for good. Celebrities weighed in, some defending her, others avoiding the mess altogether. The Harris family, once admired for their music and love story, had become a cautionary tale. A reminder that even the most glamorous empires can crumble if they are built on lies. Tiny's tears came to represent every betrayed woman. Shakina's fall became a warning that being the other woman never ends well. And T.I.'s collapse showed that ego and betrayal can destroy even the strongest legacy. By the end, Atlanta itself felt changed. The city that once crowned T.I. its king now spoke his name with disappointment. His crown was gone, his throne abandoned, and all that remained was a fallen dynasty. Tiny emerged as the tragic queen who survived it all, her strength turning her into a legend. Shakina disappeared into the shadows, paying the price for her choices. And T.I. remained isolated, haunted by the empire he destroyed. The DNA results had not just revealed paternity, they had ripped open the truth and left nothing standing. As the camera zoomed in on Tiny's tear-streaked face one last time, one thing became certain. This wasn't just a scandal. It was betrayal in its purest form, and it left scars no one involved would ever recover from. And now, after watching this entire saga unfold, the question remains, can anything ever rise from this rubble? Or is the Harris dynasty truly finished for good? Because sometimes, the truth does not set you free. It burns everything around you until there is nothing left to save. Do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment to stay locked in for the next chapter of drama, because this story is only getting darker.